Welcome to the Mom Owned and Operated podcast, the podcast about moms and for moms, where we have candid conversations about running a business, raising a family, and remembering ourselves. I'm your host, Rita Suzanne, a single mom of four, digital strategist, and provider of no-nonsense business strategies and tactics. Hi, this is Rita Suzanne, and you're listening to Mom Owned and Operated. Today, I have my friend Emalee with me. Emalee, thank you so much for joining us. Please tell everyone all about you, your family, your business, all the things.
Oh, goodness. Thank you for having me. It's exciting for me. So I, professionally, I'm a nurse practitioner. I specialize in endocrinology, diabetes, metabolism. And I worked for a large healthcare organization for the last 15 years. And I just recently, a couple months ago, left my post there to pursue my business full time now. So yeah, it's
how exciting.
Yeah, lots going on and all of that. And we can definitely get into some of that. Personally, I'm a wife, a mom of two girls, 6 and 2. And they keep me quite busy. And so the balance of now, working from home and being with babies is definitely been a big transition from, leaving and going to the clinic every day. So
are they home with you every day too, while you're trying to work?
They are. My older one is in kindergarten. So she's, she leaves during that period of time, but I've got the 2-year-old with me. Yeah. So trying to figure that part of it out. While I was working, we had a nanny, that was with us. And now it's me most of the time, other than the times that I, obviously have to procure, help so that I can get something done.
And what exactly do you do for your business?
So I have essentially a lifestyle medicine business. I work with people on their nutrition, fitness, things like that. But with more of that, I guess I would say higher level, because I'm board certified in family practice as well as diabetes. I really work with people who have insulin resistance. We're talking full on diabetes, pre-diabetes, fatty liver disease, obesity, things like that, that other conditions that are all related to insulin resistance, to correct that through nutrition and movement, exercise, things like that, all the other lifestyle things, stress, sleep, all the stuff that plays into it, that unfortunately in the, kind of the mill that medicine has become, we don't have time to do, even though these are very powerful measures, that we can work with. So it's awesome, because before, you get 15 minutes, you're scheduled every 15 minutes with somebody. And, by the time you adjust insulin or their medications, it's like there's, try to, work on your nutrition, and just sort of your one hand on the door, because you're so busy. And now having that ability to truly tap into these very powerful lifestyle measures. I've always believed that the lifestyle side of it should be the cornerstone, right? And medicine is necessary in a lot of cases, but so I'm not anti-medicine in any way, but I don't think that should be the first line, action or anything like that. I think we should do what we can before that. It should be the icing on the cake, not the cake. So that's what I do. Work with people doing that. And it's been very rewarding to have more time to do that side of it that I feel more inspired with. Yeah. So that's the good part of it. The hard part
I
is,
love it. Yeah.
I'd say the hard part is, before working with such a large organization, I had a 3-month wait to see me, and, I didn't have to go out and find people to work for, it's a whole nother world now. So.
I mean, yeah, it is true. I think that a lot of people think that when they start a business, it's just about the actual service or whatever they're providing.
Yeah.
But little do they realize how much, back end stuff that you have to do in addition. And I mean, I think that you did it right. You started off still having your job and then transitioning into it full time. So we didn't mention the name of your business, which is Forever Fit Life. And so what made you decide on that name?
So yeah, I named it that because it was so funny. Right when I was starting the business, we were having some construction done in our house, and the house we live in is kind of what we would not consider our forever home. It was sort of, we knew we didn't want to be here very long, but whatever. So the improvements we were doing, it was kind of like you'd go pick the flooring and be like, I like those enough. They're not my favorite. And I didn't want to spend all the money to get like my very favorite, all that kind of stuff. And so these are the conversations we kept having with like almost every decision. Like, it's good enough for this house, right? For this house, like it's fine. And then I just was noticing when I was at work talking to my patients, it was always like this sort of thing of, once this finishes in my life, then I'm going to focus on, these measures that you're asking me to focus on with it, especially on the lifestyle side of things. It was always just like putting it off to this other part. And it just really hit me all of a sudden. I'm like, that it's not like a house where we can just, move into this new house. Like, this is our forever home, right? This is the only body we get. And so we need to be making decisions like you would for that place you're going to be in and live in and thrive in for the rest of your life, because it is. And so that's where that name came from. Because I want people to view their bodies and take their well-being, very seriously and hold that sacred.
Yeah, I think that's really hard because, like, for instance, and we talked about this before, my youngest son has epilepsy and all that stuff. And as hard as it is to try to get a little kid to not eat sugar and all of these things, and not that he's not on a keto diet, but I still try to educate and keep all of my kids from consuming like too much processed foods. But once and that seems fine when they're at home with me, but once they get around other people, that's when it becomes more challenging. Do you find that that's true? Like, even with your clients, like, do they have the same problem?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some of them, the biggest challenges at home, some of the biggest challenges out, in the world. And that's, I'm actually board certified in ketogenic nutrition as well. And I work with a lot of people who do take that avenue for things like epilepsy and stuff like that. But I think the bottom line is to realize we don't live in a bubble, and, we live in communities and families, and there's just so much more there. But that kind of goes back to my big theory, both in what I try to teach my clients, as well as even in business. It's kind of the same thing that I always go back to, is this sort of like the basics or what really matter, because I want somebody to master. If they understand why, if you understand mechanism, then you can make choices when life is throwing all of these things at you, versus, if I just hand somebody a meal plan and say, follow this, do this. They're not understanding why, why I put this and this and this together, why is this the case? They just know how to follow it. And so then, when life, which it inevitably will, throws that wrench in there, and you can't be at home, cooking these perfect meals, and you have to be out. We recently had a water leak and we were out of the house for 4 months. It was ridiculous. Oh, no. But, you have to eat out, right? You have to do these types of things. But if you really understand the basics of nutrition and really understand those things of the goals that you have in your nutrition, then it's actually not very hard to kind of still stay on track, even in those not ideal areas. And I find that to be the case in business as well, because for me, I'm not trained in business, I'm a clinician. And so that whole part of it is been a big challenge for me. And so I kind of took that same theory, and I was like, I just really need to understand the basics of what I'm doing here and try to stick to that. And then it will eventually grow the way I want it to. And it's kind of fresh. It's not sexy, right? It's like, it's not that, we all want that immediate gratification in everything, all parts of our life, whether that be our health goals, our fitness goals, or our business goals, we want that. And I think our culture sort of, maybe, I don't know, indoctrinates us to that.
Yeah.
We just want that. But I think just taking a step back and realizing that it's that, it's those small, consistent things that you do that add up to the big changes and, get you there.
I think that's the hardest thing for everyone, is the inability to be consistent in things. And for me personally, what I have found in all these years, and what I've came to the realization to, that even just this past week, is that I keep piling so much on my plate. And then I wonder, why is why are things falling off my plate? Like my plate is over full and yet things just keep falling to the wayside. So I have been focusing on simplicity and really just taking away anything that's not working for me or that I don't love, or, it's like, obviously I don't love everything that I have to do in my business, but I mean, really focusing in on only doing the things that bring me, the joy and not just trying to, oh, I'm going to add this because I think that people want it and all of these other things, or maybe I should try this because I had a client ask for that. And I'm like, nope, I'm just going to do it this way. And I'm just going to focus in. And these are going to be the only clients that I work with. These type of, wellness clients are only clients that I work with. And I'm only going to offer this one thing and just really focus in and hone in on providing the best service that I can versus trying to give like an a la carte meal plate of here's thousands of things that you can pick from.
Wow. I was
So
guilty of that. I was guilty of that in the beginning,
Right. So my question was going to be like, so since you're speaking of like that secret sauce, like what is it business related? Like what are the things that you find to be the most important things that you've been trying to focus on, especially since, this is a new venture for you full time?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's once I did start to pursue it full time, because when I was doing it sort of side hustle, I would sort of just take, oh yeah, I could do that. Oh yeah, I could do that. These little, take these little clients here and kind of work with them on this or work with this person on that. And I was a little bit spread thin, but I didn't have that many clients, right? It was just this, small little thing. So it was almost like a hobby that allowed me to maybe not be as focused as I should be. And then when I started to dive in more, all of my attention to it, I realized, yeah, I'm just in all different directions. I'm sort of jack of all trade, master of none right now. And this is not helping anything. I'm feeling like just frazzled all the time. I feel like I'm all over the place. So I think honing in, as everybody always says, honing into that niche that, you feel maybe the most passionate about, and sometimes that's hard, it could be multi-passionate, right? And things like that. And I definitely am. But I think when it comes down to it, and I really think about who I truly believe I can help the most, it does kind of bring it down, and realizing that, kind of stopping the shiny object syndrome situation, a lot of stuff comes out. But what I do is I keep a list of other ideas I have as things come up. And I have that in my planner. It's just like this page where I just jot all this stuff down and it's there. I'm trying to be digital with this, but it's really hard for me. I like paper. I like, to see it. So I have that list. And when I do set about once a month, these sort of, plan out my calendar, at least roughly of the things. And there's definitely like those days that are going to be my planning days and things like that. And sometimes if a project kind of moved on or a particular client moved on and I have a little bit of room in a particular area, I go to that list and I can kind of look at it and be like, hey, like, this is something I want to start focusing on now instead of doing it. But in the meantime, I literally keep it shut. And I'm like, I can't do that. I'm doing this, and it's just that discipline of doing that. But it has given me so much more peace of mind. Oh, so much more peace of mind focusing on that one thing. And I think probably another thing that I did in the beginning was I evolved with my patients, or I'm sorry, I keep calling them patients because I'm used to being a clinician with my clients, where if their needs, maybe they started in this place of that sort of ideal client that I would start with, but then they, started kind of, gaining skills and things. And then now they're needing something over here. And I could help them with that. That's something that I have a skill set for, but it's such a far distance from this core kind of curriculum that I really like working with people on. And I realized that that's not good because every one of my clients was branching out in a different way. And then I started again, going back to this kind of craziness of doing all sorts of different things. Yeah. And so I think bottom line is I had to come to the conclusion that I actually want my clients to outgrow me. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to work on this. I'm going to help people who need this. And there are so many people who need this, right? Those foundational basics, right? This is what I'm going to focus on. This is what I feel passionate about. And all of those other things, they're all great, but there's going to come that point where I'm going to be like, you've mastered this, right? And it's not that our work is ever over in any aspect of our life, right? We can always keep going. And maybe that's starting to collaborate with other people that I can either pass them off to, or, kind of set them and say, I think that you're good on this, maybe we can, if they wanted to do, maybe follow up things every once in a while, have like a little touch base of like, hey, let's check in or something like that, but they're not going to be my, my weekly coaching clients that I would work with or something like that. So letting go. And that's really hard. It's really hard because you want to keep all the business.
No, I get that. I was going to say, then you should find somebody to collaborate with who will be good resources for them, because you want to make sure that you're on the same page too with the people who they're going to be working with next. But so for the longest time, I've always worked with what I would consider like female entrepreneurs, even though a majority of my clients have been coaches. And just this a couple of months ago, I want to say I listened to this book, this audio book, and it's called The $100 Million Offer or something like that. And even though I'm always trying to help people like with their branding and niching down and finding this one target audience, and it's really important, right? It's super important. And it helps you with your copy and how you're going to market yourself and your colors and all this other stuff, right? But it was so hard for me to finally come to the conclusion. And by listening to that book, there was something in it that just clicked for me with, as far as like the offers. And so what he was saying was, the analogy was something like this, like, let's say that you, as the nurse practitioner, you could create a course, and it could be a generalized course, and you could sell it for $100. But what if you created that same course and it was specific to a certain group of people, and you could charge $1,000 for it? Wouldn't it be better to charge the $1,000 and work with, less people and less, struggles and all of these other things? And the content is exactly the same, but who you're selling it to is different. And I was like, why in the heck did this take me so long to get through to my head? And then on top of that, it's like always like what you're saying is like, oh, if somebody comes to me like, yeah, I can do the thing, I'll just charge you X amount of dollars. But or like, instead of helping a wellness client, then let's say that a creative person, service provider comes to me and wants to work with me. His thing was like, well, you don't work with them. You send them on their way to work with somebody who is best suited for them, because your clients are these particular people over here. And I was like, and the reason why is because once you start working with these other people, then it dilutes your message, and it also dilutes your process. And I thought, well, God damn, what have I been doing all these
years? Exactly. I know that's gold right there, because I think it took me so long to realize that. And the other side of it too is, as a mom, right? Like, as a mom, we're trying to do so many things. And the reason I'm stepping away from, a clinic practice where every 15 minutes of my life is scheduled, and then there's so much work afterwards, it's reviewing lab tests and, calling all the, prescription refills and like all of these types of things, right? And then all the patient calls that came in during that day, like, that's all on my own time after I already spent 8 hours seeing people, right? So you're like, whoa, it's so much time. And I want to be with my babies more, right? There's a part of, not just for my own fulfillment of enjoying my work more, which I like that side of it, but also I want more free time and to be with my family. And if we're so all over the place that way, we're being everything for everyone, that's just going to pull all your time that way. Whereas, like you said, if you can fine tune that message and that all of that, the curriculum, your course, like whatever it is that you're doing, it's like, it becomes so much easier because you're not recreating the wheel all the time. And therefore, it frees up your time. Right. So that's been the biggest revelation for me as well.
Plus then you become the person known for the thing, and then people will come to you for the actual thing, which I think that these are just lessons that sometimes you just have to work through. And, being an entrepreneur, sometimes almost always, there's a lot of self-discovery that comes along with that. And if you have a lot of stuff going on in your personal life, I think that can just really create so many more speed bumps for you to overcome as you work through the process.
For sure. For sure. I agree. Yeah. And I think keeping a list of what I had done, what was really, really helpful is, I was, counseled, to make kind of a list of your, I don't want to say like your deal breakers or whatever that would be, like the thing that to keep you on target. Right. So then when other opportunities come to me, I sort of run it by that list and like, does it really make sense with your mission, like your focus, if it's a mission statement or an elevator pitch or whatever it is, and then also those kinds of things of like, for me, it was something that doesn't take me away from, the kids since they're so young at this time, when they're older, I would want to expand that. But at this time, something that's going to take me away from them for more than 2 days or something like that, like you just make a literally specific list of that. So when things come at you, you can do that. Like I was recently approached to become a speaker, sort of a national speaker for a particular, specialty, to go educate other, nurse practitioners and doctors and things like that on metabolic health and everything like that. And I was like salivating, like the old me, like the before kids me would have been like, heck yeah, like, let's do this. And I wanted to, but then I looked at it against my list and I'm like, I would be traveling all the time, all over the country. I would be gone for, sometimes a week or so, or that type of thing. And it's also not that honed in thing that I'm working on with my course, with my clients, stuff like that right now. So it's also good to say like, those are awesome things and they're hard to say no to. They're so hard to say no to, but I just say, it's just not the season for that for me right now in my life and my business. But there could be that one day. Right. And to realize that it's not, we don't want to say no, because I think we're just like, I just want business and these things. And we have to realize that, there's seasons for everything. I think particularly as a mom in business, and being able to let that go and realize that it doesn't mean no forever. It really doesn't mean no forever. And we can kind of evolve as our lives evolve and, our time and things like that get different as kids get older and stuff. But yeah, so that would probably be a biggest thing for me, to if other moms are kind of stuck in that place, it's really hard to say no to those great opportunities sometimes, but it's, when I think of the logistics of that and what that would look like of me trying to organize that between childcare and everything, like the stress goes through the roof for me to just be gone to do this thing. And I go, wait a minute, this is counterintuitive to what I'm actually trying to do here.
I love that. I think that's a great idea to have that list of things, because it's so easy to say, oh my gosh, this person who maybe you admire, who maybe is like an influencer or something, wants me to do their thing. And it sounds like such a great opportunity. But if it doesn't align, then it can absolutely take you off track. And I think that having that list is a great idea. I should probably implement one of those for myself. The shiny object is just really hard to not get distracted by it. And one of the things, like you, I have an ongoing list that I have of ideas that, just come to me. And I used to have a notebook, but then I ended up having like multiple notebooks and having to go through the notebooks. And so I use ClickUp now, and I have all my stuff in there. And then whenever I feel like I don't have like a planning day or whatever, but let's say that I have an idea, oh, okay, I want to make a new freebie. It's time for me to do this. I will go and look at my list and I'll go through them and I'll be like, nah, I don't like that. And I do the same thing with, like, let's say I see somebody's ad, like a Facebook ad that I like, I'll go ahead and, take a screenshot of that and put it in there just for inspiration. And same thing with, emails and all of these other things, because I think it just helps you to see what's possible if you just keep that. And after we get off here, I'm going to show you my little thing.
Oh, nice.
It's so helpful, especially I definitely believe like you should create your workflows and your automations and all these things before you bring on your team. And so this little template that I have is so great. Anyways.
Oh, I can't wait.
So now that you are at home working with the baby, like how does your like what's your typical day looking like? Like, are you able to do stuff for yourself? Like, how is that working?
It definitely was hard. And it was a big culture shock. I joke with my husband, I'm like, I haven't peed alone in like 4 months.
For sure.
Well, while my job was stressful at the clinic, it's like I could go to the bathroom alone, or I could, actually drink
Walk
a cup
outside.
of coffee, what I mean? Kind of a thing, right? And you're back into that total chaos of, because kids, young kids like that, it's really hard to have that schedule. So what I have found works for me the best, and it's a work in progress always, right? I'm still kind of trying to fine tune this, but is to kind of batch days for particular things, right? So I have somebody who comes on Tuesday now, and is with, usually it's one daughter because the other one's in school, and she can play with her. I know she's not, I'm not going to just like turn on the iPad and let her have all the screen time just so I can get something done, right? Mm-hmm. So I have somebody come, and even though I'm not leaving the house, I can lock myself away. I know that those things are getting taken care of, and that gives me a good, 4 to 5 hour chunk on a Tuesday, right? Like that just works out for me, and my babysitter, like that's good. And then my husband and I have worked out where, certain days of the week, I count on him working late on those days. So I'm just not planning to do much with my business. And then on the days that it's like twice a week that I know he can get off a little bit earlier, and then he can come home and kind of take the brunt of the kid situation. And so then again, I can have that more concentrated time to do that. And there's the ideal of like, I'd like it to be, okay, it's Tuesday and Thursday that I get, my time, and those are the case, of course, life throws things in, and that's got to be modified and stuff like that. But I think if you try to stick to somewhat of that schedule, because for me, and I don't know if it's just because I'm a Virgo, I'm severely Virgo, like ridiculously. If you read like what a Virgo is, it's like, yes. It's like kind of ridiculous. But I need, I guess the way to say it is, if I am just kind of at a free for all, and I'm just going to be like, oh, when they go down for a nap, then I'll get on the computer and do that. That's what I used to do. And then I realized that I was never fully present for any of it, because I keep waiting for that moment for me to work on my business, or me to get something done that I could just take care of myself, or for me to work out, or whatever that is. Right. I'm just like, okay, I'm waiting for that moment. And so every time like they start to play with something, I'm like, is this my moment? And then you start to do it. And of course it gets interrupted, and then you get frustrated. And it was just this like play. And then I realized I'm not really actually playing with them. I'm not actually being present with them, and, doing the crafts and the baking and the whatever it is that I want to do with them, taking out, to have experiences and stuff, because I'm just waiting for that moment for myself. And that was making me miserable. It was making me miserable at home, to be there. I wasn't enjoying it. And then it was making me feel frustrated that I wasn't getting the things done that I wanted to get done. And so moving more towards this like thing where I can count on, I know Tuesdays are, I get the majority of my day, and then I get those 2 moments at the end of those 2 days at the end of the week, as like a solid, like I have that, right? And I can plan on that, has made me so much more present on the days that I'm not having that time, right, because I'm not expecting to have that be done at that time. And then weekends are easier, because again, I can block out a time and say, hey, my husband might take the kids to his parents or something like that. Right. Like, and I can, again, have that block of time again, so that I can get things done. So for me, it's all planning and knowing that I can count on that. And like I said, you have to be flexible. I get it. But for the most part, kind of sticking to that has made all the difference in my my happiness, and just feeling like I'm being a good mom when I'm mom, but then I'm also very present for, what I want to do for my business and my clients and stuff like that. So that's been kind of the flow that we've figured out. And I'm sure that's going to look different for everybody else, but don't be afraid to ask for help, is the thing. And to get that help, if it's however many days a week that, you need to have to devote to it. And I'm not devoting as much time as I'd like to right now, but again, what's the season for me right now? And what was my goal in leaving my clinic practice was to actually be present more with my kids and be there. So I'm not attempting to be super full-time quite yet. Even though I have all this aspiration and drive to do it. And I'm so used to doing that. Right. And so to step back and be like, I'm going to do this 24, 30-ish hours a week. And that's it right now. And that's my hard stop until, whatever, my youngest maybe starts her preschool. And then, I can open that up again. So it's just really kind of understanding where you're at in your season. So you can have those expectations, I guess, would be my.
I love that. I think that that's super important, because I don't think that a lot of people realize that they go in real hard when they first start their business. And one thing, especially when you're a service provider, is that you don't work on your own business, you work on other people's businesses. And so what I used to do, I do the daily things too. Like every day has a different thing that I focus on. But when I was doing my projects different, it would be like, okay, so for at least an hour today, first thing before I do anything else, I'm going to work on my stuff, and then I can go off. And that helps me to like answer my emails, do all the little basic stuff. And then I don't feel guilty, right? I don't feel like, oh, they don't think I'm responsive. At least I can because I don't keep my email on my phone or anything like that. Like that's a boundary for me that I just refuse to give up. But when I first started and I was married, my husband, he used to either on Saturday or on Sunday, he would keep the kids and then I would leave the house. And that was part of our schedule, was similar to what you're saying. And I think that that works really well when you have younger kids, because the other parent can step in and he would do that one day of the week also. So that gave me like, okay, I know this time, this day, I'm going to be able to focus on, and that way I can tell my clients too, like, okay, on this day, I'm going to be able to actually get to the thing. Right. So I think that that makes it a lot easier, because when I started, my boys were, I want to say 4 and 6. So yeah, I know what it's like, but I was so busy trying to prove myself to everybody that I had my laptop on my lap. I missed out on all their stuff. They're sitting beside me, just wanting to be close to me. And, it's like, I did break off and do things with them. But like you said, I was so guilty of really just focusing in on my work and not spending time with them. So I was there, but I wasn't present.
No, I get it. Cause that's how it was. And even in the clinic practice situation, that's how it was. Cause I'd come home from work and I'd still have to do all of that, get the notes done, get the prescriptions and the callbacks and all that stuff. So it'd be like, I physically came home, but now I've got my computer out. And
right.
And it kind of hit me, one of the things that really motivated me, one of my whys, was when my older daughter was younger, she was, I don't know, she probably was like 1.5 or something like that. And I walked into the kitchen and my computer was sitting on the table and she was sitting there like, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she goes, I work like mommy. Like, that was her thing of like, that's what mommy does. That's all mommy does. That's all I see is mommy and computer. So
Emalee, I have a one-upper on that one, because my son started drawing pictures of me with my laptop in my lap and told everybody, like when they would ask, like, what does your mom do? Work. What do you like doing with your mom? She just works. My mom works all the time. So that was really, crushing, because it was multiple pictures with my laptop or my phone in my hand. And I'm like, but I was reading, because I switched from like reading books to reading on my phone, because when they were younger, they wouldn't let me hold a book in my hand. So,
I totally get it. Yeah. My 2-year-old picked up my phone and started like, she was because I dictate, a lot of the clinic notes I would dictate, and she would be like, period, next line. Just like, oh my goodness.
I love it.
Oh man. I know those moments, right? They just hit your mom heart like so hard, and you realize, and it's not, I don't think it's bad that we show them that we're working, right? Like especially being a mom of girls, I want to show them, and I want to show them taking time for yourself too. Like, so I kind of have that hard line of like, first thing in the morning, they know like I'm going to work out. And, sometimes my older daughter will be like, Mom, can you just please like help me get dressed? And I'll be like, baby, you know how to get dressed, and I might walk in her room so she feels seen and heard, like, okay, these are the clothes you're going to wear, but now I'm going, cause my workout stuff's in the garage. I'm like, now I'm going into the garage, whatever. And I want her to see me kind of draw those lines, even with them, because I'm making sure she's okay. I'm making sure she feels seen and heard. But I'm also drawing kind of a hard line in taking care of myself. And I verbalize it that way. I say, mommy needs to take care of her just like she takes care of you, because I need to be strong and healthy to be your mommy, or whatever it is, or even, mentioning that I have, certain goals or something like that. Right. And if it's work and not working out or whatever, whatever that is. And I'm kind of drawing that line with them sometimes, because I want them to be able to do that. I want them to, and kids do what they see modeled. And I want them to see that you don't always, you want to prioritize self-care, you want to prioritize those things. And it doesn't mean you don't love somebody. It doesn't mean that you're not, just because you're not jumping at every hat that you're, whatever has to be done. So it's a fine balance. It's really hard, but I really do want them to see me prioritize self-care as well.
Yeah, I think that that's super important. Like my kids, I don't go to the gym until 3. And so then my kids are like, well, you're never here when we get home. Okay, but you're in middle school. I think that you'll be fine. Once I get home though, then I'm able to spend time with them and cook dinner and all of these things. But more often than not, they just want to talk to me for a few minutes and then they want to retreat to their own space, So it's fine that, but they know, okay, well, she went to the gym, she's, here, she's there or whatever. And my kids are older, but my boys especially love working out, and I think it's because of, even since my little one was little, going on hikes and working out in the house, trying to lose all my baby weight and all that stuff. But, it is, you got to do what you got to do. So, who would you say since we talked so much about your ideal clients and stuff like that, who are you most excited to work with at this point right now?
Yeah, I would say people who have either themselves or they know they have a strong family history. And so they're assuming that they may have, a predisposition to blood sugar issues with diabetes or prediabetes. Women who have polycystic ovarian syndrome as a sign of insulin resistance, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, obesity in general, having quite a bit of excess weight, things like that, are all signs of insulin resistance. So I really, really work with science-backed methods to get that nutrition and the movement and the lifestyle stuff in line. There's so much hormonally that we don't tap into by just throwing medication at it. And I really am passionate about that. So I would say those would be my ideal clients. Anybody who's dealing with any of those things or strong family history of that, and they just really want to optimize their own metabolic health that way. So yeah, that's the crux of it.
So where can they find you if they want to connect with you and see if you're a good fit?
Yeah. So my website is foreverfitlifeco.com. And that's it. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I'm not as active as I would like to be. That's one of my big business goals that I need to branch out into a little bit more. But you can definitely find me there and message me there. And that's, again, Forever Fit Life Co. is where it is.
And on Instagram and Facebook, you're under the same. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Emalee. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
And there you have it. I want to encourage you to remember that being a mom who runs her own business is not easy. We all struggle, but just keep moving forward and don't forget to make time for yourself. As moms, we are usually the first thing to go to the bottom of the list. If your business is overwhelming you and you need real solutions, not just some sugar-coated suggestions, apply to work with me at ritasuzanne.com/apply.